What's going on, guys? I know it's been a while since I've done any videos. I've been a little busy doing some team stuff and lots of fishing, lots and lots of fishing. Today I want to go over a few of the things that I use for catfishing, a few different options for reels and rod setup and line. Now this doesn't always work for boat fishing or shoreline fishing, but a few of the reels that I really like to use as far as options are concerned, you have your typical bait running spinning reel. Now this is the King Sharky. It does have a bait runner on the back. Now the nicest thing about a reel with a bait runner on it is you can cast it out there, let it sit, click this bait runner up, and if a fish takes it, he can just slowly pull your line out. And as soon as you see that happening, you just turn your reel, the bait clicker shuts off, which engages the front drag, which allows you to fight the fish to bring it in. Now with this style rod, fishing out of a kayak, I like to shorten the butt section right here. The reason for that is I like to have the rod butt shorter than my elbow, so when I'm sitting in the kayak, I can move it around from one side to the other while I'm fighting it and not worry about this butt section hitting me in the chest or my life jacket. Now, some people like that and some people won't. It does also have, on the rods that I use, also have a longer foregrip, which allows you to grab up here more to put more leverage on that fish. Now, most of my rods that I use are fiberglass, and the reason for that is they're really flexible and they give you a little more room to bring that fish in without having to worry about tipping your kayak over and whatnot. Now, braided line, I don't really ever use anything higher than 40-pound braid, for the simple fact that if you hook into something, you need something bigger than 40 pounds, you can just pull your anchor up and let them kind of tow you around a little bit and get them in that way. And if you ever were to get 40-pound braid snagged, you cannot break it sitting in a kayak. It'll pull your kayak under. So let's go back to reel option. This is your typical spinning reel with a bait runner on the back. Now another option is a standard size bait caster. You can buy these in a couple different sizes. This is the King Rover. It's a size 40, which is kind of small, as you can tell. I mean, it's not a really big reel, but it'll hold, what will it hold? 140 yards of 45-pound braid. And that's plenty for fishing out of a kayak, especially for me. I fish the rivers most of the time. So think about that when you're getting a reel. Don't go overboard and buy these big reels when you're fishing out of a kayak. You're really not going to need all that line. The rod is the same thing as the other one. I cut the butt section kind of short. This one's a little bit longer than the spinning reel, but not much. It still has a longer foregrip on here, which allows you to get on the foregrip, put it in your belly if you really need to horse that fish in. Now you can adjust the drags on these also. I like to set the drag for 20% of the line, and that really helps get the fish in without worrying about breaking the line. Another thing that I like to do is I'll actually tie a 40-pound Durablend leader onto the braid with the swivel, and then I'll put a weight in. Everybody uses different size weights. I just use kind of a lightweight because I like my bait to kind of float down the river. That way it covers more water, allows the catfish to pick it up a little easier, and catches more catfish that way, in my opinion. So anyway, that is option number 2. This is the King Rover. It's a, oh, it has a bait clicker also, which is really loud on these, which I really like. And it's the same thing. Once you engage this reel, it shuts off that bait clicker and engages the regular carbon fiber drag washers, which will put like 18 pounds of drag on the fish. You can turn that bait clicker off too. The little switch on the side right here, you flip it up and then it'll turn the bait clicker off for reeling. Now another option that I just actually got the other day, and it is super nice. It doesn't have the bait clicker on it, but it is, trying to tear stuff up in here. It is the new Cast King Spartacus Maximus. Now this is a little bigger than a standard bait casting reel, but it's smaller than the 40 series Rover. As you can see, it's not a lot smaller, but it is smaller. Now the nice thing about this reel is you can actually adjust the tension of how it casts. Most bait casters, you have just this one dial right here that you can adjust the tension on. This one on the back side here, you can flip this little lever down, open the side cover up, and you can actually adjust. There's a centrifugal clutch inside of here. You can turn this little dial from 1 to 6, which allows these pawls that are inside of there to come out when you initially cast it, which slows down the spool, which really slows down the bird nests. I haven't had nearly as many bird nests with this as I have with the traditional style bait caster. It's a little more expensive. It's a little smaller. It doesn't hold quite as much line, but I'm only running 30-pound braid on here, and it'll still hold like 100 yards of 30-pound braid. So that's what I really like about this. It's not quite as heavy a line capacity, but like I said, fishing out of a kayak, you really don't need anything. 20 to 40 pounds is really all you will really need fishing out of a kayak, because you would never really get to use that 40 to 60 pound braid to its full potential when you're in a kayak getting pulled around. Another really nice thing about this reel is this has a 20 pounds of drag. So this will really slow the catfish down, or the redfish, whatever you're fishing out of a kayak with. This reel will really help with that. So really smooth carbon fiber drag washers. It is just an amazing little reel for if you want something a little smaller, something you can cast a little bit more. If you're wanting to do like live bait, where you're wanting to drift it down the river and then you want to reel it in and cast it again. If there's a setup that you want to use where you want to retrieve and cast quite a bit more, this is really the way to go. But I hope this helps you guys with getting your setup for kayak fishing for catfish or redfish. And if you have any questions, let me know and I'll be happy to answer them for you. You guys have a great day and get on some fish.